The shady side of the street, the resignation decision of a top salesman. It was a typical Monday morning in central Hong Kong. The office buzzed with the usual sounds, phones ringing, keyboards clicking, and muffled conversations echoing through the walls. Yu, 38, a top salesman, stood at the door of Mr. Chung's office. Mr. Chung, 56, was focused on signing papers and adjusting his reading glasses. He didn't notice your hesitation. Without looking up, he greeted you casually. "Hey, Alan. You wouldn't believe my Saturday night with that new executive from TM Group. We went to the Tigers Club with some of his buddies from Singapore. Great crowd. You should have been there. The roast duck and char siu were to die for. You'd have loved it." You stood still, clutching a white envelope in your hand. Mr. Chung's light-hearted tone caught you off guard, the weight of the moment pressing on your chest. He glanced up at you, noticing your stillness. "Got something for me? What's that?" You hesitated for a moment, then, with a deep breath, stepped forward and offered the envelope with both hands, bowing slightly, like a Japanese worker presenting something important. Mr. Chung raised an eyebrow, sensing a shift in your demeanor. Taking the envelope, he sliced it open with a paper knife. His eyes flicked between the letter and you, a furrow forming on his brow. "Alan, I didn't expect this. If this were 10 years later, I'd get it. But now, I need to hear it from you. What's going on? Want a raise or something?" You shook your head. "No, Mr. Chung, it's not about the money. You've been generous to me since I started here, and I'm thankful for it." Mr. Chung stood up and walked over to the window, gazing out at the bustling city below. "Alan, I thought I knew you, but with that look it's clear you're not going to change your mind." He turned to face you, locking eyes, searching for any hint of hesitation. Finding none, he sighed. "Call me Victor. We're not just co-workers. I've accepted your letter after all." You nodded, feeling a strange mix of relief and guilt. "Thank you. I know the timing isn't great, especially with the peak season coming up." Victor's expression softened, but the questions kept coming. "Did you find another job?" You shook your head. "No. Is it the people here?" "No, not at all. My team's great. I couldn't ask for better." He raised an eyebrow. "So, this is a naked resignation?" You nodded. "Yeah." With no warning, he asked, his tone quieter now. You winced. "I'm sorry, Vic." Victor returned to his desk, lost in thought. "When did you decide this? How long have you been sitting on it?" You took a slow breath. 6 months. Victor's eyes widened. 6 months? Never saw it coming. You hid this well from me." A faint smile tugged at your lips, but you quickly regained composure. Victor's voice grew softer, more introspective. "Out there, you're a wolf. Sharp deals, quick moves. But inside, you've always been loyal. That's what I like about you. If you'd stayed, you could have been running this floor in your 50s, maybe sooner. So, what changed? Has something happened recently?" You shook your head. "No, nothing specific, but I've been thinking about it for a while now. About 2 years." Victor blinked in surprise. 2 years? I had no clue. At first, it was just a thought, but over time, it grew. Eventually, I couldn't ignore it anymore. Victor's eyes narrowed slightly. "You should have talked to me. Maybe I could have helped." You sighed. "I didn't want to disappoint you." Victor leaned back in his chair, a mixture of concern and understanding on his face. "Alan, you think too much about others. Even if you leave, we're still friends." You smiled faintly. "Of course." A pause lingered between you, thick with unspoken words. Victor gestured to the sofa, and you both sat down. "But I still need to understand. What made you come to this decision?" he asked quietly. You hesitated, then spoke. "Do you remember Jason Poon?" Victor's face shifted, recognition dawning. "SY, of course. What about him?" You swallowed hard. "SY is dead." Victor's face froze. "I didn't know. When did it happen?" "Last summer. SY, he was one of our best. Left for Sunrise Group after 5 years here. Didn't know you two were close." "He was my university roommate," you said, the weight of your words hanging heavily in the room. Victor looked surprised. "Oh, I never knew." You took a deep breath, steadying yourself. "He introduced me to this company." Victor's brow furrowed. "How did he?" You looked down at your hands, the memories flooding back. "I found his body." Victor listened intently as you recounted Jason's death. You closed your eyes for a moment before continuing. "It was last summer. Jason hadn't replied to my messages for a week. At first I thought he was just busy, but something felt off. So I went to his apartment." Your voice faltered as you relived that day. The door wasn't locked. I pushed it open and the smell hit me first, that sour, rotting stench. The place was a disaster. Bottles, cigarette butts, take-out boxes everywhere, and near the coffee table, a used condom. Victor's expression darkened, but he didn't interrupt. You went on, swallowing hard. At first, I thought he was just passed out from a wild night, but then I saw his cats. You closed your eyes, a tear threatening to spill. He had two. They were starving, meowing weakly, rubbing against my legs. That's when I really started to panic. I stepped past the couch through the hall, and then I found him. The words came slowly, a painful admission. He was on the balcony, sitting in a chair. His head tilted back, eyes closed, like he was enjoying the night breeze. For a moment I thought he was just sleeping, but then I realized he wasn't breathing. His skin was pale, his lips parted, his hands limp at his sides, and then he was still wearing the condom. Nothing else. Victor's face darkened, but he stayed silent as you spoke. It was still on him, like he'd just finished, maybe laughing, maybe reaching for another drink, and then a stroke. Just like that, alone, on that chair in the summer heat. You took a shuddering breath. The doctors said it was quick. His body just shut down. No chance to call for help. He must have sat there for days. The party ended. The girls left. No one noticed. A long silence passed before Victor spoke, his voice soft. "I'm sorry, Alan." You nodded, your throat tight. After that, I couldn't stop thinking about how he ended up like that. He had everything. Money, success, the parties, the girls. Maybe he had fun that night, but in the end, none of it mattered. He was alone, and his body just gave out. Victor sighed deeply, lost in thought. People are different, Alan. Jason ended up that way, but that doesn't mean you will. From what I see, you're not caught in the chaos like he was. You live differently. He stopped, his eyes searching yours. Or do you? You didn't answer. The silence said enough. Victor rubbed his temples, then spoke quietly. I'm not one to judge. Everyone has the right to choose their path, but when does the chaos end? He shook his head slightly, as if wrestling with his own thoughts. Well, I've had my fair share of crazy times. Still do, now and then. Life's a mix of light and dark, clean and dirty. We all walk the same street. In the end, life's short, right? Victor sighed, then patted your knee gently before standing up. Did you tell Amy about this? You shook your head. No. Why not? Victor asked, genuinely curious. What's the point? You replied. She'll probably leave once she finds out. Relationships built on money and status never last. Victor studied you thoughtfully. That's how the world works, sure. But people, they're not always as bad as you think. He smiled faintly. And I actually think she's a nice girl. If you really talk to her, she might understand. You shrugged. Yeah, maybe. But not for long. Anyway, I'll try. Victor changed the subject. So what's next for you? You shrugged again. I don't know yet. I think I'll travel for a while. See the world. I've never lived abroad, just short trips. I want to experience something different. Maybe then I'll figure out who I really am. Victor watched you for a moment, his gaze intense but kind. You're already a good person, Alan, but changing your surroundings won't change what's inside. Everywhere's the same, in the end. You nodded. Yeah, I know, but I still have to try. Victor nodded slowly, sensing the resolve in your eyes. I hope you find what you're looking for, and if you ever want to come back, you know the door's always open. You stood, shaking his hand. As you left the office, a mix of emotions, relief, doubt, sorrow, settled in your chest. The door clicked shut behind you, and you stepped into the uncertain future. Inside, Victor stood by the window, gazing out at the shady side of the busy commercial district, lost in thought.